Yo, what is up, everyone? This is episode 21 of the Glimmer cast. I'm your host, Rhea, and I'm joined again by a friend of the channel, Original Seed, Potion Sword Run. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I don't have my earphones on. I just realized I can't hear you. I hear you through my little...
I like how you got all dressed up. You got a little button-up shirt action.
I just put on a collared shirt. Chillax. I figured I was going to be on here with Rhea. Might as well. I just took a shower. That's why I'm all not unready.
You took a shower for the stream? Wow.
It is what it is.
No, I'm stoked that you could join us. And I'm honestly surprised that you picked this movie of all movies, but I'm like super jazzed that you did because I hadn't seen this movie in like years and years and years. And watching it like with fresh eyes almost like felt like the first time. And
it did for me too.
Yeah, you
watched
it
once,
today?
maybe. Yeah, just a few hours ago. I watched it a long time ago when it came out, and I remember liking it like a little bit, but I just, I was just watching it. And then today, I just watched it, and I was like, man, like, I don't know, it just fresh to me in the beginning.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I feel like a lot of the themes that kind of went over my head when I watched it as a kid back in like 2011 when it first came out, like actually really permeated my brain a little bit. And it I even talked to you a little bit about how it was reminding me how I would like kind of have flashbacks to when I was a kid, and I would kind of escape into like this fantasy realm and just be like this totally badass like heroine character. but which was just like an amalgamation of like all these other like, you know, anime and cartoon heroines that, you know, I grew up with.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
watching this movie, I like got like big vibes off of that. So we can get into it
No,
too.
I
But
did
like,
too. Yeah, like going to my psyche too. I thought about going like when I was a little character in my little video games I was creating on paper, you know, and I was just like, ah, that's me. I can see myself being all something in my head, but in reality, I was like paper figures.
Yeah, I'm just like really curious. Okay, so like, what was this movie like? What made the light bulb come on? Like, oh, we got to talk about this movie for you.
Mostly for me, it's just it's still visually striking. The movie, it just feels different from all the other, I don't know, action movies out there. It just had its own character. So when I was going through, like we're talking about, like, what movies can we talk about? And I was going through a bunch of movies that I like, and then I was just going through Netflix to see like what's on there, and then that one just kind of popped out, and I was like, huh. I go, it's like a whole old Snyder film before all this craziness started happening. So let's go back to it and see if it actually was something before, you know, Superman and everything. And so that's kind of what I thought when I initially pitched the movie to talk about.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. And I'm just greeting everyone in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming by. We got Tim's Talk in the house, Perp Minded, Mr. J310 over on Twitch. Thank you for supporting us on that channel, on that platform. Zod Rider in the house, shower for the stream, hashtag shower for the stream, absolutely. And let's see. I love food. Oh yeah, good to see you. And Mattia Yapik, awesome and cool. So yeah, for me, I first saw this movie when I was like 10. So I probably shouldn't have been watching it anyway, but it wasn't even like that violent anyway, and I had like grown up like watching a lot of like violent anime anyway, so it wasn't too like par for the course or like below par for the course for like what I've been used to like watching anyway. And I had just gotten into Zack Snyder movies after like watching 300, and I was really juiced on like the visual style. To your point about like with his filmmaking style for that movie, for sure. I saw that movie in theaters when I should not have seen that movie in theaters. But you know,
I was gonna say, how did because at 10 years old, you know, because this movie, I remember back in the day when it first came out, a big old hoopla about it was that it was very sexualized, you know, and so. I don't know, like at 10 years old, seeing this movie, just I don't know how you would. Because I'm looking at it now.
Wait, I did the math wrong. Okay, so 2011, I was 20. Oh wait, no, I was like 19. So yeah, no,
okay.
sorry.
I was like 10 years old. I was like,
okay. Yeah, no, sorry, I can't do math. Sorry. So like 300 obviously came out before 2011, and I think I was like 15 or 16 when that came out. So yeah, that was definitely a rated R movie, and I snuck in with my friend to go see that. But Sucker Punch, I was like, I was within age range to watch that. So yeah, my apologies there for being terrible at math.
It's all good. But anyways, yeah. So I remember it being like a big old thing. How it was very sexualized when it first came out. I remember that just being like a big old controversy, and I think it clouded my judgment when I first saw it the first time. So like looking at it again, it just changed my mind completely.
Yeah, totally. Like at the risk of getting flagged again, as all my movie discussion streams do, I did want to take a chance to watch the trailer and just kind of have that be a starting point for where we jump into the discussion. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Awesome. Okie doke. I'm going to go ahead and share screen.
You are safe. It's all safe. What you're imagining right now, that place can be as real as any pain. Don't be afraid. You have all the weapons you need. Your fight for survival starts right now.
I'm gonna escape from here. There's armed guards everywhere. If Blue finds out, we're dead. We're already dead.
This is your journey. If you succeed, it will set you free.
Nice.
Yep.
Alrighty, let's see. Gonna go ahead and pause that. So yeah. So cool. I think I'm like ramped up to get back into kind of like the synopsis of the movie. So roughly speaking, for folks who may have seen this movie a while back, but may have forgotten exactly what happened or yada yada yada. Essentially, there's this main character, the girl with the cute blonde pigtails, who is called Baby Doll in the movie. And we're kind of introduced to her going through a very like traumatic event where she is like she loses her family, or she loses her mother. Her stepfather is a total a-hole, and goes off on her and her sister because the mother left the family fortune to them. And in this huge like act of like, I guess, self-defense / violence, she accidentally kills her sister while trying to kill her stepfather in self-defense, and the stepfather sends the baby doll to a mental institution. And that's kind of like where she is physically present throughout the whole movie. And we'll get into like the details of like why I'm specifying that she's physically present there, because the movie takes place largely like in the mind of the quote unquote main character, Baby Doll, which I'm using quotes as well because there's also like a possibility that this movie could be interpreted with Baby Doll not actually being a real character or even the main character. There's just a lot of different layers. So I apologize if I'm like rambling on how to explain this movie, but watching it a couple times, like a lot of these like different, avenues and possibilities of how to interpret the film just, are kind of still cascading in my brain. And this trailer didn't help me organize them that much, but it did make me excited to talk about it. But yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. First of all, it started with a bang. Like, I'm trying to use a pun, but it started with a bang. It was just like from the beginning, just like it set the story, action packed, and then like it was like, dang, like you already knew from the beginning what you were gonna get. It was gonna be an adult story, and it's gonna, actually pull at your hearts. So I was prepared for it. I forgot what the question was, but I was just so that's.
Oh no, I was just trying to like set the stage for like the synopsis and like the beginning of the story.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing that popped out right in the beginning was, I'm not sure if it's the first time Inception happened, but it was going like in 3 different layers of the mind, So I was just like, it was like for the first time when I first watched this movie, it was hard for me to keep track what was going on because I didn't know if it was actually her real life, and then what layer she started going into the play, then into like the characters. And so it was the first time I ever, I guess, experienced Inception. I'm not sure if Inception, the movie, came out before this or he did it first. But so yeah, like where you're saying how you're not really quite sure what's going on at all times or who's actually real, because it is pretty much a play on the mind.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So the character Baby Doll that we see in the trailer, she is a recurring figure. She's kind of the protagonist of the movie, and she doesn't speak for a large part of the movie either, which is something I want to get into down the road as far as like some theories on like how this movie could be interpreted. Because for me, I got a lot of flashbacks to the movie, Set It Off, right? With Queen Latifah and
Jada
Pinkett,
what kind of flashbacks you get?
Oh, just like the all femme, like crime fight, or not even crime fighting, just like taking on the system, and stuff like that, taking charge of like, taking back their power basically over their own destiny. That's the vibe I got. So I got random Set It Off vibes from that because I love that movie. And I also got you've seen the movie Joker, right?
Like the one with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, I actually own that one. I don't really own too many movies anymore, but I own it digitally.
Yeah, so like I got flashbacks to that one as well because to your point about the where this movie takes place physically, like doesn't always match what we're seeing as far as like the events, like as the characters perceive them, like in their memory or as they're recounting them to us. So there's kind of some what would be considered unreliable narrator things happening where the narrator, as they're like guiding us through the story and describing events to us on the screen, whether it be verbally or like with what we're seeing as images, it's not always like 100% like actually what's happening in the context of the greater story. So yeah, did you want to say something on that?
No, I was saying, like, you're saying how the movies that it reminded you of, the movie that it reminded me of was Girl Interrupted. How they're trying to pretty much fight Oh my lordy, God. Anyway, it's a good movie. But anyways, like they're in the same kind of thing, like in a ward. And they're trying to like kind of fight the system and break free, and more ways than just actually being free physically, like being free in their mind as well, and telling themselves they're okay. But on this one, the spin is different because instead of being like all just real people in real world scenario, you actually get to fight with your brain and your fantasy and trying to change the person that you are, even though you're inside, and break free that way. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, kind of jumping back into where we were at in the synopsis, Baby Doll, the quote unquote protagonist that we're introduced to at first, she is taken away from after accidentally killing her sister, and her stepfather ordering her to be taken to this mental institution. It is a total, like nightmare hellscape environment, fully populated with orderlies and doctors that have no bedside manner, no empathy, no like completely detached, and like just treating the patients as like cattle basically. And we're pretty much like what surfaces during that whole interaction where she's being taken into the facility is the act of like lobotomization, or I don't even know if that's a word, but lobotomies take place to kind of like repress or remove traumatic events from patients' minds as a means to pretty much like wipe clean any sort of like memory of this person being a victim, or any type of like incriminating accounts that could potentially put people in prison, or things like that. So yeah, like it's also surfaced that the facility that this whole story takes place physically, at least, they also, as a means of treating quote unquote the patients, they act out in this like room that's called the theater their trauma. They basically do recounts of their trauma, and this is where we're introduced to a lot of the other female protagonists in the movie that accompany Baby Doll throughout a lot of the visual spectacles that we see in the movie as well. I think there's Rocket, Sweet Pea, Amber, and Blondie. Yeah, so really cool.
And Blondie's not even blonde. What's going on with that?
Oh yeah, Vanessa Hudgens. Yeah, I'm a big fan of her for sure. I've like been following her career for like almost 20
her and
years.
her sister. And I was like, okay, who's Blondie? Why are you Blondie? Okay, you're Blondie.
Yeah, no, like Amber, yeah, she and Blondie, Sweet Pea, and Rocket. Rocket is the one with the short hair, so she's kind of like that spunky one. And there are some running theories as well as far as like what who these characters truly are, if they exist, and if they don't exist, what they actually represent. So yeah, probably going to step back a little bit because I don't want to like jump too far ahead into interpreting the story too much. Just setting the groundwork for the synopsis. But what were your thoughts as far as like the how the story started out? Like, because Baby Doll actually started, like, we were introduced to her on like a stage, like, setting as well, that then turned into like a physical like house. It wasn't just like a room on a stage, but that's how we were introduced to her at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, at the very opening. And I remember that too, that you mentioned it. And I rewound it. I was like, did it just like open like a stage, And it was actually like her real life already, like where it started off with the bang when she killed her sister. So yeah, that is interesting. So definitely this movie has a bunch of different visual, representation and interpretation that you can do as right from the beginning, But I actually like how they introduced everybody. Like I said, like this movie just felt complete. Like it had a vision and knew where it was gonna go. So the way they laid out the characters, and how they, even when they opened the ward and how the main orderlies are, this is what we call the theater, So it's really setting the stage again of what's going on. And how I talked about the good doctor. I don't know if she's a good doctor, but the woman doctor. So it kind of just set already set the character. Like this one is kind of try to be the good one that fights within the system and trying to help everyone out. And then this orderly is already corrupt. He's already scheduled 5 days for what's her name? Not Candy.
Sweet Pea or Baby Doll or
Baby Doll. Baby Doll to get
the lobotomy,
already scheduled in 5 days, So I definitely liked how I already introduced all the characters from the beginning. Even when it showed all the girls, you already knew that they were going through a bunch bunch of trauma, I guess, So I like that it set the stage and let you know that this is going to be a wild ride. It's going to be very dramatic. She thinks it works, all this, going into your memories and doing a stage play to get all the suppressed memories out. He doesn't think it's going to work. He thinks he just get those nose things, then, let it all be done. So I really liked how it started.
Yeah. So like what was interesting about how they first introduced Baby Doll to us on the stage, before she gets into this altercation with her stepfather and accidentally kills her sister. Watching the movie a second time, like having like fresh eyes and having seen all the visuals that transpire after that, made me totally interpret the significance of seeing Baby Doll. So like, but yeah, I don't want to get to or how we are introduced to her in a stage setting at first, because to your point, like how the girls reenact their trauma as a means of healing or, kind of unpacking it and learning how to cope with it. It is subtly like hinted at that potentially how we were introduced to Baby Doll could effectively have been a stage reenactment and just sort of like flipped to be perceived in the like imaginary realm of it actually being reality. Like in the case where when Baby Doll is about to get lobotomized, and we see her dissociate into this burlesque brothel type of situation, which is like the first like sort of layer underneath reality that we'll get into. That is effectively her like trying to cope with the situation and detach from, the physical anguish and harm and mental, mentally disruptive, state that she's in, being like about to get lobotomized. But like we don't see her in anguish, we just see her immediately detached from the situation by doing that. So yeah, just kind of like trying to close the loop on what I was trying to make a point about earlier. Us being introduced to Baby Doll originally, like in a stage setting, there is going to be significance to that, especially because we now have the context of, okay, the patients in this facility act out their trauma on stage. So potentially like that would mean that we could totally reinterpret the intro of Baby Doll at the beginning of the movie differently. But for the sake of moving on with the synopsis, we'll jump back to when Baby Doll.
I'm telling you, there's just like so many layers in the story.
Yes, I know, so many threads. I keep pulling, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this one. But yeah, so the burlesque scene, her dissociating into that setting. What did you think about that being the first layer that we're transported into?
See, I don't know. Like sometimes I try to get into the director's head, or to see if he's actually trying to tell us something else besides just being in what he's trying to show us, because the first thing that went to mind when they started putting them in the burlesque setting and they started showing all the rooms and what these young girls have to do, and then started showing like all these greasy old men coming in and like kind of pretty much they're there for their pleasure, like the greasy old man's pleasure. Like these greasy old men could have been symbolic for like Hollywood greasy old men and the way they treat like girls in general in Hollywood. And that's the first thing that came to mind. It's like, I wonder if this guy's like subtly poking jabs at his own Hollywood thing, or he's actually just showing us a creepy like part of a movie where, or just part of the visual style of what's going on. So that's the thing with me. I kept on getting pulled in different directions when I throughout the whole series, just throughout that whole layer and all the stuff that happens to them. So yeah, pretty much that's the first thing that came to mind going into that sequence.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like a lot of the characterizations like that we have seen in movies oftentimes are alluding to like studio producers or critics, or just like they're caricatures of people in real life. So yeah, that's a really good point that you called out. So yeah, like one thing I did also want to call out. So like we kind of know that we're in this this sort of like dissociated, reality that Baby Doll has invented in her head, or not reality, but fantasy world. So like because we see different versions of the doctors. I think the doctor is Blue. I think they're named Blue or something in the movie, but played by Oscar Isaac. So yeah, I think that'll probably be easier for me to like remember who that is. So yeah, Oscar Isaac's character. He is this super sleazy sort of like pimp kind of character, head of the brothel type of dude. And We also quickly are reintroduced to Baby Doll's stepfather, who in Baby Doll's fantasy is a priest who is essentially checking her into the brothel, which is a little weird, kind of like off-putting. Like he frames it as like, okay, you're going somewhere safer, quote unquote, and she actually spits at him like right in his face as soon as like she's
definitely.
taken away.
And that was weird. That moment was weird because she was so docile there, just like kind of out of it, just looking at everything. But then once, that was the last time she was gonna see her, or she thought she was gonna see her stepdad, she spit on him. Like it transcended him being a priest, and I was like, I still remember who you are. I'm going that other level to spit in your face.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I thought that was a good call out, because potentially
she snapped out of it.
Yeah, totally. And then we're what's interesting, like I do want to like quickly jump back really quick to like the real reality or whatever in the hospital. We are introduced to the female friends or protagonists or co-protagonists in the hospital in reality before Baby Doll goes into her first sub section of imagination land. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, we then are introduced to them as fellow workers in like this brothel situation vibe. So we are reintroduced.
But yeah, the workers that must dance, that's their thing. They must dance in this brothel, and that's all they're worth.
Yes, they're pretty much there to entertain the gentlemen callers who come to the facility. And Blue is, like I said earlier, or Oscar Isaac's character, runs the not the facility, but the burlesque shows, as well as the brothel. And we are also reintroduced to the female doctor, played by Carla Gugino. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. But yeah, she is, to the point that you were making earlier, she does have some empathy and a slight, desire to protect the girls. But at the end of the day, she's kind of just trying to, save her own neck. So yeah, it's kind of like a balance between like, watching out for the girls and trying to, give them a heads up in how to like, protect themselves and stay alive. But also she has to kind of like protect her interests as well, because she's also subjected to I guess like the ruling power of Oscar Isaac's character in this setting that they're in, at least in Baby Doll's, imagination land that she kind of escaped to. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, obviously in the movie it shows it different when you go in different layers of her importance in the movie, but yeah, like in that sub layer where he's a pimp, she's pretty much helpless and just there to guide them as much as he can.
Yeah, she's like their dance teacher. She's kind of the
one thing that I wonder,
mistress or something, I guess.
Yeah,
is what it's called.
Because one thing that I wonder is like they do mention in the beginning how like in the voiceover that angels come in many forms, and so and how they're not always there to fight your battles, but they're there to guide you. So I always look at her, even though she's still looking out for her own interests, I see her as an angel in that sense because she kind of fits the mold. She was there to guide them, but not to fight her battles, only to be there kind of when they needed her.
That's a really good point. Yeah, so like that quote actually permeates a lot of the different scenes in the movie too, because in a lot of ways when Baby Doll is like spending time with the girls or like the other female protagonists in the movie, they each act as like safeguards and protectors for one another. And there's kind of this reciprocal relationship to watch out for one another and to be a guiding light for like to protect each other and pretty much sacrifice one another to or sacrifice themselves in order to save the other person. So that is present when Baby Doll is like enters the friend group again in this like fantasy world where she first becomes friends with Rocket, the girl with the short hair, and she has to earn the trust of Sweet Pea because she's kind of like the leader of the group, and Amber and Blondie. Sorry?
She takes her dance spot too.
I totally missed that part in the 2 times I watched it. So like, is there kind of like a rivalry or
that's why she didn't like her at first. It was resentment because they kept on screaming at Sweet Pea about her dance routine from the very beginning. They're like, well, she was all frustrated in the very beginning when they first introduced each other, when they first met the sweet girl. I forgot her name. I can't forget her name. I don't know why. The main
Sweet Pea, Baby Doll.
Baby Doll. So when Sweet Pea first met Baby Doll, like in that second sub level character, she was pretty much gave her attitude, didn't want anything to do with her, pawned her off to her sister, let her take care of her. And then throughout the film, those times where she was criticized by the way she was dancing by the instructor. She was told to put on the sidelines, and that's when they gave actually Baby Doll a chance, and she blew everyone away. So from that moment, they already didn't, or she at least didn't like her because she thought she was kind of stepping in on her shine.
Yeah, you just reminded me how we're introduced to Sweet Pea, at least in the fantasy world, the first layer of the fantasy world in Baby Doll's head. She is on stage. She's in a stage setting, reenacting the exact scene we just saw Baby Doll dissociate
yeah,
from.
That's why it gets confusing, scene. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I was just like, wait, so did you just imagine the lobotomy, or it was, that's kind of where definitely. I had to pay a little bit more attention because I was also working while I was trying to watch
that's why and that's why she was struggling the whole time, pretty much trusting her and just and everything, and that's why it was like such a big deal throughout the movie when everybody started getting closer to forget her name, the blondie
Baby
girl.
Doll?
Baby Doll, yeah, Baby Doll. I was like, who named their kid Baby Doll, or anyways, but Baby Doll, yeah.
Yeah, totally. So let me think. So to your point about Baby Doll being this super amazing dancer who sweeps everyone off their feet and kind of like outshines Sweet Pea, these dance sequences are pretty much where we go into like the third and like multiple layers of fantasy within the fantasy world, where it kind of feels like an Inception type of vibe, where we don't ever really see Baby Doll like physically dancing in the first layer of fantasy world. We see the dances take place as like high octane, like very like, action packed, violent, very like visually chaotic, like almost like reminiscent of like sci-fi anime tropes, things like that. Like just like full on like battles with like
samurai swords, freaking mech suits, just Gatling guns, shit flying everywhere.
Dragons, like wartime
warfare. Kind of what are those blimps everywhere in the sky? Just dog fights going everywhere, and you're just there with like steampunk stuff going on and shit just popping out everywhere.
Yes. So like this is kind of another reason why like watching the movie a second time really helped me out, because the first time I watched it today, I didn't really catch a whole lot of like the visual callbacks to traumatic events that were taking place in either the first layer of reality or the fantasy below reality. So like there's this reoccurring figure who's like this, wise old man character who kind of is the central sort of like.
Is he from Kung Fu? Where's he from? He's like very famous. I know he is, like in some kind of like martial art movies, I believe.
I was like, wait, is that gosh, I know who you're talking about. But...
Yeah, because I don't really get into like all like into all that stuff, but I mean I'm like, you're somebody from other stuff, and so you being in this role is a big deal. Anyways, I like you.
Yes, I'm sure there's someone that they are someone who like is well known. I just cannot think off the top of my head. But the point I was trying to make was that every like fantasy dance sequence had callbacks to events that were either taking place in the brothel fantasy or in reality. So case in point, like with the what was it? I think it was one of the shootout sequences. There were callbacks to when Baby Doll had to in self-defense grab a gun at her house against her stepfather and accidentally shooting her sister. And there were some visual cues where the bullet like ricocheted off like a steam, like some steam pipe, and then like there was steam in like the action sequence. And then there was also some sequences where she like one of the female friends, I think it was Rocket, actually gets hurt and stabbed in the fantasy reality or like the in the fantasy reality, I guess I can call it. And that is supposed to like harken back to where she where Baby Doll accidentally kills her real life sister in actual reality. So yeah, no,
that's what I like about this film in general. Like each time you watch it, you get to see brand new stuff you didn't see in the first time, or throwbacks you didn't see in the first time. Because when you mention this stuff, like now that you mention it, like, oh yeah, there's just so much visual candy everywhere. And that's why, like, when I say it was like a complete movie, he just ties all these things together. Like, he's checking all the boxes on the movie making stuff. Like, okay, we have this, we have that, we do a callback, we did this, everything checks out. I don't know. That's what I felt like this movie was.
Yeah. Like, as much as I loved how visually dense and thematically dense, and how everything kind of tied back to something else that we saw previously in the movie, I do have to kind of say I am a little bit critical of like how it took me multiple viewings to kind of feel more have more of a grasp around what the theme of the movie was about, and or like one of the themes anyway. So like, I guess,
Rhea, you're just one and done. Is that what you're saying? You don't rewatch movies?
No. I actually rewatch movies in order to make sure I get as much as I can out of it before I talk about it. So yeah, I watched it twice today, not including the times that I watched it in the past, where I don't even count those because I didn't even really remember much from the movie, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like I watched it once.
Yes. Yeah. No. I feel like I watched it once too, because every time I watch, when I watched it the first time and then watched it the second time, I felt like I was rewatching the movie for the first time again, because there were more things that I was picking up that I missed the first time, and I was evaluating the images I was looking at based off of my first viewing. So yeah, that my viewing of it changed the second time as well. But yeah, like this is something that like I can't expect like a regular movie goer to do, actually. Like if I were to pay to go see this movie in the theater and it was like a one and done experience, I would probably walk out being very confused. I don't know how you would feel.
I think I'd be very pleased because it was visually pleasing. It was a blockbuster like film. You're just there watching everything. Like, you don't get to see that stuff just like regular filmmaking. So I mean, no matter if you don't get the whole deep layers of meanings, I mean, it was still like a cool movie to watch from beginning to end. It could just be like girls struggling, kicking ass, looking good while they're doing it type of movie. Let's eat some popcorn, have some drinks, and be done with it, and not really hold on to all the meaningful stuff. So I think even if you're not like in tune with all the deep messages, it still holds, as an action flick.
Yes, yeah, no, totally. I do agree. Like, I love a good like schlocky, like action-packed, like scantily clad women, action movie as much as anyone else. Like, if you just wanted to do a surface level, like, oh, let's talk about all the babes in this movie, like, yeah, absolutely, why not? We could fill more than an hour just talking about them.
But that's the thing. I think this movie works in both ways. So I think it does that. And for the people who kind of want to get more of it, it delivers more of it, So you can go into it thinking, it's just going to be one of these movies with short skirts and thighs. And then for the other people
there's lots of thighs in this movie, for sure.
Exactly. No, and that's what I want to mention, that because there is a lot of thighs, and that's mostly all there is thighs. There isn't like their butt cheeks are covered with not grandma underwears, but I mean they have like normal like underwear type deals. So I mean their costume design I don't think is really that bad, or as people thought or talked about it when it first came out. And girls look like that. I mean, they do. So, I mean, I think it's kind of messed up to say that pretty girls that look like that or that work on their body or have certain bodies like that can't be badass and kick ass and use guns and be ninjas and shit too. I mean, who's to say they can't?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Fourth 1000 says Snyder unfortunately was labeled a sexist for this film. He was even called out by Tarantino on a talk show for how shit he thought it was. Dang.
See, but I think that's what I talk about too. But I also mentioned how in the brothel scene where he don't just do it like, oh, look, I'm going to just film these girls. Like, he don't do like those bottom shots or stuff like that or anything. He actually does artistic shots, wide shots, cinematic shots. They're just dressed for the occasion of the movie. And that's the way that I saw it. But like going back, it's like, he's like, I felt in that part, he's like sending a message, like girls are just used for this in movies. I know they're used for this in movies, but I'm going to break that mold. My girls are going to kick ass at the same time. And they're going to not just be used as sex slaves or just as a sex driver that pretty much drives the movie.
Yeah. And like, to that point, one of the themes that the movie, I think, did pretty well, at least like from what I gathered after my second viewing today, is the ability for the women in this movie to take what is essentially like their shackles, which are like, they're having their sexuality turned against them and victimizing them, being used as like sexual objects, and not and pretty much being physically unable to kind of fight against the forces that are like holding them back or restraining them, yada yada yada. So flipping the script and then effectively using those same things that quote unquote make them weak, whether it be like their femininity or like their sexuality or their emotions or mental state, using those things that have been turned against them and like made them weak to be their strengths and to
Pretty much, yeah.
use their pretty much using like their femininity to seduce people to either like steal important items to help them escape or to kind of like convince people to kind of back off or to help them, things like that.
And the way that I see it, like if you're not trying to look at it a sexualized way, it's just biology, man. Like I'm sure there's like spiders that or mantis that do different type of, or birds that do different type of dances to attract the other mate. And then once they do and they finish having sex with them, they bite their heads off and eat them for dinner, feed them to the kids type of deal. So what happens in natural life is going to happen in human life as well, because we're nothing but animals.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Those are really good analogies that you called out too, how like there are like female creatures and animals that will use like their ability to attract mates to them,
their feathers, their whatever, their yeah, just goes.
Yep. So yeah, basically using what was originally made to make characteristics that are interpreted as weaknesses as strengths. That's one theme in the movie that I really enjoyed. Another theme that I think the movie did pretty well in communicating, at least after I watched it a second time, was let me see. The ability to control one's destiny. So it's kind of related to taking power or back through things that like make you strong or like that have been used against you, but also just the ability to what is it? So like we know that Baby Doll dissociates into different realms of reality or fantasy in order to cope with the current situation she's dealt with, whether it be like physical trauma from the lobotomy or dancing in the burlesque fantasy world. She uses her ability to escape mentally in order to find peace. So or to find power in herself. So yeah, I felt like that was sort of a good call out as well. Like if you can't like physically break free from your reality with the assets that you have bestowed to you, then you can find inner peace within yourself as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I like that whole under theme, the theme in the movie as well, because it starts from the beginning, how it gives you encouragement throughout the whole thing. And like throughout the whole movie, it keeps on going with that whole encouragement, like pretty much you fighting not just against the demons out there in the world, but the demons inside that you haven't, the demons that you have inside, and trying to work all that stuff out to be free mentally. And the reason why that meant a lot, or at least it resonated a lot with me, is because like in real life, in our normal life, we always work with stuff that we struggle. And some people it's physical, and some people it's mental. And for me, a long time, it was always just trying to be mentally fit, And so that's something that I always not like struggled with, like, oh my God, I can't live type of thing, but just like little things where it's like, you just, they gnaw at you all the time. And like those things you hold on to and they kind of shape the way you live. But so yeah, I can understand how it's the encouragement. I liked it. It made me feel like I wasn't alone. Like even people in this fantasy world go through shit too. But they're able to overcome. And I felt emotional through a lot of it too, a lot of the connections they had. So, I mean, even just the storytelling, I think worked as well. So it's not just visually striking, like it actually pulled at my heartstrings because it was able to connect with me like in a human level.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, even though like I knew that it was like a fantasy, that all of these things were like taking place, and we had the unreliable narrator in Baby Doll to kind of guide us along. And it wasn't 100% clear like what was, you know, what stakes there truly were at any given time. Yeah, it didn't change the impact of, you know, some really
The
sad, you know, effed up
relationships and
stuff.
everything. Yeah.
Still, yeah, like
Yeah.
the sense of loss, like when Rocket is stabbed by the cook, and her, and then Amber and Blondie are killed as well by Blue or Oscar Isaac, just because they were trying to protect the I guess I'm going to call her headmistress, or Carla Gugino, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the older woman who was trying to, you know, protect the girls. They didn't want her to get killed, so they took the L for her, unbeknownst, unknowing that, you know, them saying like, no, don't kill her, like, I'll tell you whatever you want. It was me. Then they
Yeah,
were like,
exactly.
then Oscar Isaac's line after that is like, we don't like snitches, and then he just like
no, that line I really like, because it's that like, I don't like snitches, or snitches get stitches. That's universal, guys. You know, even Snyder like, nah, no snitches. Like, that's just like life. You know, like snitches get stitches. They get what they deserve, and that goes to all you out there who's snitching on all that shit, who don't believe in friendship. Okay, so even Snyder doesn't think you're worth it, because, anyways, universal.
So you're sending out subliminal headshots on my channel.
I'm just saying. I know it's Rhea, you know, we're trying to be cool here, and I'm trying to be cool, but I'm just saying, even Snyder's not cool with y'all, you know? Snitches get stitches, man. You gotta. So that's when I connected with Blue, and I was like, oh, yep, you know, you're just trying to regulate, keep shit in order. You're a good guy, Blue.
You're a good guy, Blue. Oh my god. Okay, so Fourth 1000 says, did you watch the director's cut version, which includes the dance sequence and the lengthy scene of the Mad Men actor, the high roller seduction of Baby Doll before she's lobotomized? Okay, so I did not watch the director's cut, but I did see the scene that you're talking about. So
yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I saw that scene, not in this replay that I recently watched, but I did see that scene before.
Yeah, so basically, I was hearkening back to that scene because they basically, in black and white, spell out one of the themes that I called out earlier, is like the high roller wants Baby Doll to wants her to give herself freely to him. He doesn't want her to feel compelled to do it just because she's in fear of like retaliation or being hurt or whatever. He actually wants her to choose to, you know, like have sex with him, basically. And I thought that was kind of like a very good example of like, yeah, this movie is trying to call out the like the themes of just having like personal agency over your own decisions, and like how you choose to, you know, conduct your life or anything like that, versus like feeling like compelled or pressured to do something that you don't necessarily want to do for fear of retaliation or, you know, consequences and things like that. So yeah, that was kind of like the theme captured in that scene that was not in the theatrical cut of the movie. Okay, and Zodwriter says, yeah, it's a lot. Zodwriter says, the irony is the studio butchered Sucker Punch just like Justice League and then blamed Snyder for it being a failure. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
Are they good? Like, I read someone in the comments was saying that is an extended version was on it, but it's like done, but they're not having. I forgot what the comment went, but it pretty much said that there's a director's cut that's existed, but they're having problems pretty much releasing it. Like, I wonder if that's the case.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that would be awesome if they were able to release it. Even if they release it just like on, like how they released the Snyder Cut on WB, whatever, HBO Max. Like, if they release it on there just to extend the cut, I mean, if it's already done, that would be freaking awesome. I mean, right?
Interesting.
Just release more. Who cares?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think maybe there might be like some other issues as well, apart from like the streaming rights that Fourth called out, because like possibly like I feel like it would make more sense to release the director's cut of Sucker Punch when the director has additional work coming in, like maybe a couple months or so.
Yeah, exactly.
That same year.
Cool. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah.
Let's see.
Look at
Fourth says,
Raya.
Fourth says, I have to say that scene with Baby Doll and the High Roller is some of Zach's best writing. Yeah, no, like for me, I appreciate it because it was one of the only like black and white like lines of dialogue that I could actually walk away from without having to like listen to it again. Like I could take it like as at face value, because everything else like that I'm like struggling to describe to you.
Raya likes like resolution, you know. She wants to just be like, bam, bam, I'm done, and that's it. I'm done with you. That's Raya.
Yeah, no, because like having to watch this movie multiple times, like I said, I did it because I wanted to have a good discussion about it, but I can't imagine other folks who are just surface level fans to be.
Now that
to
you're
do that.
saying this, I get you, because there's a game that I play called Near Automata or Near whatever how people pronounce it. And the thing, and I only passed it 3 times. And the reason why is because to get the whole story, you got to replay this shit. Keep on replaying it to get different stories, to get the full story. They keep on holding stuff back, or at least in Snyder movie, he's not holding the information back. He's just throwing it all out there. But in the video game, they're actually holding stories parts back, so you have to replay it. You know what I mean? Like if you really want, you can watch Snyder Cut in 10 minutes. Just stop it, absorb it all, and try to write notes and go back and rewatch it again. But like something like this game, you can't do that. You have to play it multiple times.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I love playing JRPGs that have multiple endings and like different ways that, you know, characters' fates can, you know, transpire. I know this is a little bit different than what I'm describing, but yeah, like to your point though, like I appreciate when my experience with a form of media changes with multiple, you know, engagements.
Because I wish I would have just got the first story, maybe the second run through, but after that, it's like, come on, guy, just give it to me complete. You can do better writing or something. So I don't know. Maybe that's where he could work on that. Everything doesn't have to be such a big old visual meanings. He could be more direct, maybe, and maybe the movie would still work.
Yes, yeah, no, exactly. I think there's that like balance, you know, because like for all I know, this version that I watched, the edited down version that's not truly like the director's cut.
Who edited this? No.
Yeah, this could have been the one that I'm trying to describe. Would have worked better. Probably the more. I'm assuming it would be longer director's cut, would have a lot more themes, a lot more character engagements and things like that. Would probably further confuse me that I would need to watch even more. So I'm probably watching the version that I'm wishing existed already. And this is maybe like what the studio tried to, you know, put out.
It's like, hey, dude, you're getting carried away. We gotta, you know, stop putting all this crazy stuff. We have enough, okay?
Yeah, we got like a hard 2-hour, you know, cutoff. You know, here we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get on with your life.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, fourth, I'll totally hit you up to join me on another stream in the future, and you can give me ideas on what to watch too. That would be awesome. But yeah, let's see. So yeah, I want to know your thoughts on the female protagonists. Like, did you have any favorites or ones that you felt like were kind of weak?
No, I thought he actually did a good job, or whoever wrote, I think he wrote the movie, did a good job with the characters. You know, they did have vulnerabilities, but I think they were within measure. Like they fit the character. So favorites. See,
so like there's Baby Doll, Sweet Pea, Amber, Blondie, Rocket. Yeah.
I was gonna say maybe Rocket and Amber, just their relationship, because not Amber, sorry, the big sister, Sweet Pea, because the whole reason why Sweet Pea was in there was no fault of her own. She was only there because she was, I think, either protecting her sister Rocket, or she was there for some reason. But it was pretty much her sister Rocket ran away and she went with her. I don't know what it was, but she was pretty much there of no fault of her own, and she was just trying to make the best situation of it. And she was the one that was looking out for all the girls in this bad situation, even though she didn't want to break free, mostly because she was afraid of what was out there, you know. So I really resonated with her as a character, and I really liked her just because she had a bigger character arc throughout the whole movie. You know, from being someone who was like in love with the system, who eventually was the only one to break free, and the whole, you know. So I mean, that's the character that I kind of resonated with more. She went through a lot through the story, even though all the fighting sequence was mostly freaking Blondie, whatever her name is. I can't forget her name. I can't remember. Whatever the main character.
Baby Doll. How
Baby
can you forget Baby Doll? Yeah.
Like I see her. I'm gonna call her Pigtails. Anyways, Baby Doll. So even though most of the story was about Baby Doll, she kind of didn't really talk too much. So the story or the characters that I resonated more was Rocket and her sister Sweet Pea.
Gotcha.
Just because
Yeah.
they went through a lot, you know.
Yeah, totally.
And
Like
like Amber and Blondie, like I just didn't really know too much about them to care about them. But I still think like they were, still good characters, and they, move the movie forward. But as connecting with them,
yeah, their deaths weren't super impactful. It's like, them getting capped in like the same scene. I didn't feel as much impact as when Rocket was killed.
no,
Because we had a
exactly.
lot more emotional resonance and time on the screen with Rocket and Baby Doll bonding and building that kinship and trust and stuff like that.
Yeah, the character that I liked the most was the butcher or the cook, man. That guy was awesome. They're just cutting onions, just eating sandwiches, Didn't say a word. He looked all nasty and gross. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, that guy fits the freaking mold perfectly.
He's just like, is this like random cafeteria worker? Okay, so like before I get to Fourth's comment, I just want to like call out. Okay, so like Baby Doll has perfect makeup every scene in the movie. Not even just like her fantasy scenes. Well, like you could argue this whole movie is a fantasy, and she's not even a real person. But like, yes, that might be a suggestion as far as like her being a figment of Sweet Pea's imagination. Because at the end of the movie, Sweet Pea is the one who escapes. Everyone else gets like capped or killed. So yeah, it could be argued that these are all fictional characters within Sweet Pea's mind for her to, cope with her trauma.
And it could actually be the whole story could be actually about her, and she's actually the one who killed her sister in the beginning because her sister dies inside this make-believe world.
Because she's on stage acting out like the play, and we know that they do that in order to deal with their trauma. That's a good point.
And then like in the end, she says when I forgot her name, freaking Pigtails. She
Baby Doll.
She tells Sweet Pea in the end when she realizes when she sees that she's gonna be blocked in her last stage. She's this story's not about me. It's always been about you, or something to that effect.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And that's when she realized so you're the one that has to live, be free.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. So yeah, that was like the main like kind of like circular synopsis storytelling thing I was trying to get at was that Baby Doll is never fully like made into the protagonist of the movie, even though we're introduced to her as that. And me watching the movie again, seeing her on stage for a few seconds before it turns into like a full like house sort of visual, kind of just harkened back to when we're introduced to Sweet Pea on stage, acting out her trauma in the first fantasy sequence that Baby Doll has when she's lobotomized. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Cool. Jumping
to... like I'm over here just like thinking of different things. Like what could... See? It's a good movie, man.
Hold on to that while I finally read Fourth's comment. Okay,
Go for it, yeah.
Fourth 1000. I thought Maggie Chung was kind of weak. Oh, Amber, the actress who played Amber, being relegated to vehicle operation in the fantasy realms and not having much character in the real world made her kind of flat. You're right, but like I will say, she did take the W when she was. There was this like really like gross high roller, kind of like fat, smoking a cigar. There was this whole sequence of like a rap song that sampled a Queen song, like We Are the Champions playing. And she is kind of like the arm candy or chair candy or whatever to go and, entertain him while the stage play, or not the stage play, but like while the girls dance on stage for him. So yeah, like she
actually
is...
Yeah, and I thought she was badass in her little mech, how she just...
Yes, that too.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I thought it was... I liked her character in the movie. I mean,
yeah. I'm just saying she took the W twice, in my opinion. In the fantasy world, she held it down for her girls. Someone's got to drive the fucking vehicle. So like, and then someone had to like steal the lighter in order to have like the escape plan happen. So she did that.
And that's what I like about it. Each of the characters had their moments, in the movie. They had to overcome their own obstacles, and so I kind of like that too.
Yeah, I will say though, I think Vanessa Hudgens' character, Blondie, who is not blonde at all. There's this like dark hair Filipina chick being called Blondie for some reason on screen. So yeah, she was probably the weakest, and she kind of like took the L a little bit because she in a moment of weakness, she confides into the older mistress character in the fantasy world in the brothel sequence, and they're then caught by Blue, Oscar Isaac, and his orderly henchman, or brothel henchman, whatever, and she is unable to kind of like hold in like her fear of someone possibly getting hurt if she doesn't say what the big escape plan is, or out herself or anything like that. She doesn't want to have someone else get hurt because she won't say anything, so she kind of like spills the beans right when Blue is about to pop a cap in Carlo Gugino's head, and yeah, no, I just felt like that was kind of a really frustrating moment for me, because she could have like easily like gotten everyone in that room killed if she she couldn't hold it together.
I get that, but they gotta drive the movie forward, so it's like they gotta add a little bit of tension. So like, I'm gonna forgive you, girl, Blondie. Okay, you're meant to.
But didn't you just say snitches get stitches? So you were just like, yeah, she deserved to get capped.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, she does deserve. I'm gonna forgive you for being a weak character, So you gotta go, but
if someone had to go, it would have to be her.
Exactly. So it's like, I forgive her, but.
Yep. So yeah, unfortunately, the two Asian women in the movie die first, single tear. So
yep.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes, Hollywood.
Yeah, no, now that I think about it, like there was like not that this is a criticism or anything, but like the only I think I've only seen like one Black person in this entire movie, and they were one of the check-in nurses in the mental institution reality, like that baby doll goes into before she's lobotomized. But yeah, that's not really a criticism. I'm just kind of subtly pointing that out, like representation in the movie not 100%.
Maybe a lot of those
equal.
Those people in the mech suits were Black. We don't know.
That's true. They could have been there, and we just weren't.
They're probably CG. I don't know. It's all good.
Probably. Fourth says, do you think characters who exude weakness can play the role powerfully?
Fredo was hollow weak, but that in The Godfather, if you don't know who Fredo is, but yes. He was weak as a man character. He betrayed his brother, but he played it well. Definitely.
Oh, okay. I think I understand the question now.
He played it powerfully. He played it powerfully. If that's kind of what you're getting at, you know what I mean? So you can still be a sniveling snitch, but still be a powerful character in a movie and play it well.
Yeah. If nothing else, like Vanessa Hudgens' character, like she might have cracked under pressure, but she is one of the people who kind of helps Baby Doll get through the dance sequence by going into this like third realm, or like this other realm of like fantasy in these action-packed sequences where she can hold her own. It's just that in the brothel fantasy reality, whatever, she is very vulnerable, very like emotionally like connected to all of the girls around her, and just sort of stuff falls because of that. So yeah, I think that although I'm criticizing her falling so easily to or succumbing so easily to her emotions in that scene where she is killed, she did play that part very well. It was convincing, and the fact that I'm reacting so angrily about it is just reflective of her, how good she was able to play that character. So yeah, although I wish that she could have had a different the writing could have been a little bit different.
Yeah. She could have just lied and been like, oh, I have cramps, that's why it hurts.
Yes.
What's worrying you, kid? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, and let's see. I think that's kind of all I've got on my end for Sucker Punch. Do you have any closing thoughts or other scenes you wanted to call out?
No, not really. Not any closing scenes. Pretty much my closing thoughts is I enjoyed the movie. It's the second time around more than I did the first time around, because I learned a lot more from it, and I can actually go back to it and pull other stuff from it now that I talk about it. Now that you mentioned stuff too that you saw. So I don't know. I think for me the movie holds up. The first time when I saw it, I thought it held up as an action flick, and that's all I thought about it at the time. And now I'm starting to appreciate Snyder just a little more, just a little more.
Just a
I
smidge.
have like I said, yeah, just because he's down with the people. He understands the rules of the road, the rules of real life. But I just think I don't know. It's like he has his own visual style. I haven't watched any of his new Supermans and stuff. I know they're like so old, and it never appealed to me. But maybe now that I'm trying to understand him more as a director and where he's coming from, at least I can maybe appreciate his newer films as well. We'll
Yeah,
see.
like what you were saying about like just thinking more about his artistic style of how he like makes content. A lot of the scenes in the movie definitely played out like music videos, and now that I know a little bit more about his career, like he got his foot in the door as a music video director.
That's
So
probably
that makes
why
a
his
lot of
music,
sense.
the music in this film is good, like relevant, or like it's
Yeah.
pop, whatever. But it fit. It was just so good, like the music, and I was like, oh man, and like the way he was able to. They could have been like little short music videos. You know how he does like his slow
Yes.
motion, and how he pans in different directions and stuff. So I mean,
Mhm.
now that you mentioned that, even more, it's like, yeah, I guess that's where he gets his visual flair from.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Fourth says, what do you feel Snyder was getting at with all the extended storyline and the Blu-ray special features, making all the enemies the girl fought sympathetic? So, like, I can't really answer that authentically because I didn't watch the extended edition in the Blu-ray special features and all that. So, I can't personally comment. Did you watch the theater version or the extended version for today?
Today I watched whatever was on Netflix. I just
Yeah,
rewatched that.
I
Yeah.
watched that one too, so I don't think I can answer this question Fourth, unfortunately. For example,
But
the
if the
robots.
but if the enemies were sympathetic, well, there was one point where the guy who was running with the map, and he was being chased by Babyface. Is that her name? Anyways,
Baby doll.
Babyface, Baby Doll. When she was being chased by Baby Doll, he did kind of put his hands up, like, I give up, and you kind of did kind of sympathize for him. And she didn't kill him; she just took the map. So I don't know. So if the characters were a little bit more sympathetic, like if they're like, oh, I still wouldn't care for them. I don't care. Slice their, like, Kill Bill style, slice their
Yeah.
arms off, slice their heads off, let the blood splatter. It wouldn't affect me one bit if they're sympathetic. It might just have a more visual punch of the magnitude of killing all these people, maybe, like, oh shit, type of deal,
Yes.
but not like, oh shit, my heart is breaking for them.
Yeah, it's kind of like whenever we see like high speed car chases and then there are cars that take collateral damage, like they either tumble off, the side of the bridge or the cliff, or they explode, like all of this like residual damage in pursuit of like the main villain. Like we don't necessarily think about it right away, but there are people driving those cars who could have like possibly like gotten capped or killed or whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, like to that point, like, yeah, it feels shitty to think about them in retrospect, but in the moment you're definitely not focused on them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much for stopping by, Sickness. And thank you for the insightful questions, Fourth. I will hit you up for another show in the future. But yeah, my closing thoughts on the movie. I really enjoyed it. I did find it challenging to describe it, but I find a lot of things difficult to describe. So just because of like how my brain processes information. But hopefully,
definitely.
hopefully at least I communicated that. I saw a lot of like valuable, like insightful themes in the movie and I felt like the movie did communicate it well visually and through its writing. It just took me a couple tries to try and like, put into words exactly what value I did see. So yeah, I think if I had to give it a score, the version that I watched on Netflix, I would give it a 7 out of 10. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. How do you feel?
I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. A good solid B. Yeah, I think that's right where it sits with me, like about an 80%. Had room for
Nice.
improvement, but I mean, like no regrets. It's like it was good. It has maybe if I watch it more, it might even go higher tied to it, just because just being able to understand more, or trying to pull that. And that's what I like. I like when be able to pull more out of a movie. Just because I like to rewatch stuff all the time. I'll just have it in the background and kind of be looking at it. And I only do that to certain type of movies. And it seems like this is one that I might be able to do at times. So I'll give it an 80.
Nice. That's awesome. But yeah, no, this has been a great discussion. Thank you again, Original Seed, so much for
Always
coming
a
to.
pleasure.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. And where can we find you at, and what are you currently working on this week?
You can find me mostly on Twitter, Potion Sword Run, Original Seed on there. Just put stuff in my life, like my channel, Potion Sword Run on YouTube. It's just mostly just stuff that I come up with every day. Like I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do every day. I wake up, it's a new possibility. I look at life and be like, today I want to work on this. Let's see what's going on. And if something piques my interest, then I'll work on it. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So like I said, you can find me on Potion Sword Run. You don't know what you're gonna get here. If you just want to get to know me more on a personal level, mostly on Twitter.
Yes, I love interacting with everyone more on Twitter. I'm getting to know so many awesome folks, and yeah, like I just be on there clowning out.
Yeah. So what I say for all the people who are only on YouTube, like Twitter gives you a new, I guess, you get to see people in a new light. And so everything that you take, like you're not just vision tunneled on whatever people create on Twitter. You get to see like more substance that actually backs up whatever you put on Twitter, or just more about you. So you get to understand each other more. And that's why I kind of direct people there too, so they can see how I live regularly. So when they see my videos, they'll be like, oh, now I understand why this guy talks about this, just because it's part of my life.
Yes, and you can find Original Seed, Potion Sword Run's links to Twitter, as well as his YouTube channel in the description as well. And Sodwriter, quick question before we wrap up. Does this make you interested in eventually seeing the director's cut? The version on Netflix is the theatrical cut. Yeah, I think I will want to kind of space out my viewings a little bit more. So maybe like how I'm spacing out my viewing of The Batman from like last week to seeing it again possibly this week or the following week, just so I can like give the information that I received a little bit more time to permeate my brain and think about it more. So yeah, that's kind of the strategy I think I'm going to take if I ever do see the director's cut for this movie. But yeah, cool. Thank you so much for the awesome conversation. I really appreciate it. And this has been episode 21 of the Glimmer Cast. I will be back tomorrow talking more random stuff that I feel like talking about. And yeah, I'll catch y'all later. Thank you so much, Original Seed. Take care. All right, bye y'all.